Welcome to the Your Entrepreneurship School podcast, or as I like to call it, the Yes Podcast. My name is Britta Moreta. I'm an executive business consultant for women who dream of living wildly and wealthy abroad. The Yes Podcast is for women who are ready to build a business that funds her dream life abroad so she can expand her business, bank account, and brilliance without settling for a life that tames her wildness. The Yes Podcast is sponsored by Bridal Babes Yoga, a luck start to your celebration. Ready to elevate your bachelorette or hen-do weekend with something truly unforgettable? My Bridal Babes Yoga experiences are crafted with intention, movement, and connection because you deserve more than just the usual. Immerse yourself in a soulful, joy-filled session designed exclusively for you and your crew. Whether you crave a restorative morning flow, a themed class with playful energy, or a heart-centered practice to set powerful intentions for this next chapter, we'll curate a dreamy experience that feels as radiant and one-of-a-kind as your love story. What to expect? Thoughtfully curated playlist, essential oil-infused head massage, a pause to breathe, move, laugh, and connect with the optional add-ons of tarot card reading, astrology chart reading, and friendship bracelet making. This isn't just a yoga class. It's a radiant start to your weekend, an unforgettable moment of luxurious relaxation and joy before the confetti. Let's make magic for your bridal crew. To book a Bridal Babes yoga class, you can go to brittamoreta.com/bridal-babes-yoga or find our link in the show notes. Hello, welcome Kim Farley to Your Entrepreneurship School. I'm so excited and just grateful that you're here today. You are like one of my favorite people, and I love that you wore a beautiful outfit to the podcast today. This is just so exciting. So please
Respect the podcast. Yeah.
I wish I got the memo. I would have dressed up as a mermaid as well.
I just felt like, I went past this little sort of sunray thing. I bought it for a friend who was turning 40 a few years ago, and it lives now permanently on our French antique Jesus bleeding heart statue in the living room. So he has this halo, and I just like pulled it off his head 10 minutes ago and thought, you know what? I'm into it. So yeah. Thank you for appreciating it.
You're
It's
so
just fun.
welcome. Well, to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll dive further into this episode.
Well, yeah, I guess, I don't know. One of the great things about being older is you sort of know a bit more who you are and what you want, And I do feel like a granny in astrology, but I was lucky enough. It was 1989 when I got into astrology, and that was just like an accident, just a brilliant coincidence. And obviously people say there are no accidents, whatever, but yeah, I was in a writing class and I happened to sit next to a world-class astrologer, Sue Tompkins. She founded the London School of Astrology, originally. But back then she was teaching for the school that I ended up training with. Anyway, I didn't know anything about astrology at that point. I was just interested like loads of people are. And I sat next to her and we had to introduce each other to the class, which was a creative writing class. And she said, I asked her why she was there, and we were having this kind of private conversation. And she said, oh, I want to find out about different kinds of writing. I've just finished writing a non-fiction book. Non-fiction. I'm like, oh, that's amazing. What's your subject? And she said, astrology. And I kind of like went off like a firework, and she had to shush me radically and forbade me to say anything about astrology. So we kind of had private talks after that. But she did sort of say in her lovely dry way, if you're that interested, I'm starting a class next week. Kind of, I'm like, yeah, I'm that interested. So yeah, I don't know what my life would have been like if I hadn't sat next to Sue in that class, but I was gripped from the very beginning. And I felt for the first time in my life, I was 28. felt for the first time. Now I feel like this is something that's for me. Before that, I wasn't sure what my thing was, and I'm into people having their thing. I don't. It doesn't matter what it is, but be passionate about something, and yeah, and that's what astrology kind of instantly became for me. Just a love affair. Yeah, and
That
then again, randomly, I've been very lucky to be able to teach it because astrology jobs don't exist really. They have they're again happy accidents or just little rare jewels that you find in the dust. There's no recruitment market for astrologers out there. You have to kind of make it up for yourself, and that suits me. I think definitely kind of freelance stepping stone kind of, lead with what you love and who you are, and then see what comes out of that. Yeah. But I did teach for the school that I ended up training with for 30 years as a freelancer for them. And that ended about 3 years ago. So I had to be a bit more focused on, right now that you're in charge now, what are you going to do? And so, yeah, founding a little school. Or I don't know, Asteria is a bit more than a school, but it's hard to describe. It's something that I felt was missing in the astrological world, because there are loads of places you can train to be astrologer these days, but there aren't many places where you can be supported through your astrological journey, whatever that is. And I really wanted Asteria to be that foremost, a place where people can bring their real and vulnerable astrological selves and be welcomed and supported and be assisted, yeah, be accompanied. Yeah. Sorry, I'm talking too much.
No, you're not. This is your interview, so you can talk as much as you want. Um, Thank you for just taking us down this beautiful visual story of how astrology came into your life. I just imagine you sitting next to astrology, quite literally, in a classroom, and how you met the founder of LSA and you've been freelancing as an astrologer. You mentioned Asteria, and I recently took your group course in Asteria. But for those of us who don't know what Asteria is, can you share with us? So if people who are interested in astrology, they could have an opportunity to study with you.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's a project which I conceived as an abstract idea many years ago, thinking what I'd love is to be able to share astrology and definitely share teaching and help people discover where they want to go with it. But I didn't want to, I certainly didn't want any more exams. I didn't want an exam structure. I didn't want anything formal. I didn't want anything kind of heavy or encasing or limited. Just wanted the missions, if you can call it that, statement for Asteria is astrology for the joy of it, and reconnecting people who might have done quite a lot of formal study to why they got interested in astrology in the first place. Because there's nothing like formal study to beat the joy out of you, when you've got an exam that's taking you months to accomplish, or when you have been failed in an exam, or, and crushed. And I, over the decades, have encountered loads of people in that position. So it's like, we love the subject. Let's share it. And making, some of it is teaching, like with your forecasting course, with Carol and I, my co-founder, who we sort of hatch plans. It's like, we got to do something together one day, we got to get away from all of this. And in the end we did, again, neither of us sort of expected it or planned it. It was an accident in a way, where it was us responding to events. But yeah, we conceived this tiny little baby, and it was born in the summer. Actually, 1st of July was our very first class
Happy
3 years
birthday.
ago. Yeah. So we're 3 now. And they were live classes in London, just small scale, room full of people. and it was lovely. I made lunch for everyone, and we just sort of basked in a day of astrology shared. But we fairly soon switched to online so that we could, so that people could be involved who didn't live in London, essentially. And yeah, we run supervision courses. We kind of do mentoring. We have a beginners group that's running. We're about to launch some intro classes, or not even classes, sessions, kind of for people who are curious and intrigued by astrology, but in no way kind of clear that they want to do any kind of deep study necessarily. They just want to taste it, or to scratch an itch and see what happens there. Yeah. We had Prue, a third Asterian, join us last summer. Yeah, she's amazing. And Carol and Prue and I just are in the middle of working out where we want to go and what we want to do with our little 3-year-old now, you know. Yeah. How did you find the course that you did?
Yeah. So for those listening, I took the forecasting group class from, I believe it was February to June this year. And I was just so, let me like give a little backstory. I met Kim through the London School of Astrology. And as soon as she walked in through the doors, I knew that she was my teacher. And she was just so cool. Basically, what happened is we were every other Saturday with a different professor teaching us different types of astrology. And Kim walked in and said something like, I have no interest in sharing about space rocks or constellations, and pulled out RuPaul's birth chart. And in that moment, I said, this is my teacher. And I just knew.
Mama Rude to the rescue.
You gave me a
I have
bookmark.
absolutely no memory of that, by the way, but that's normal for me at my age. Yes.
It was amazing. I just knew I was like, this is the woman for me. She's going to teach me everything I need to know about astrology. But you gave me a bookmark for Asteria. And I found it on Instagram after that. And you posted something about just like having this forecasting class. And I had no idea what forecasting was, but I just knew that I wanted to study with you more because I really resonated with you because you teach through literature and poetry. And I studied poetry in university. So it's just something that I really am passionate about. I have loads of poetry books like in storage at my mom's that I've read throughout my years. And I really resonate with that teaching. And I just knew I needed to get more of this. And I loved astrology. I was so curious about it. I am by no means an astrology expert. I'm a baby astrology student who's just still learning, and I want to learn for the rest of my life. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to do this course. I don't really know what I'm going to learn on it, but forecasting sounds amazing. And as soon as I started, what I loved about it was the community aspect of it. I got to meet women from all walks of life, from all over the world, all different time zones, all different like backgrounds, and they really inspired me. And we got to learn about astrology through each other's astrology and through what was happening in their everyday life. And that was so important for my growth because we could be studying people who are famous or people who we don't have these personal connections with, but we got to study people who are in the room with us
Yeah.
while learning about what forecasting is, while learning about transits, while learning about like the actual day and hour that we were studying astrology, what was happening in the sky at that moment. And it just made it really relatable for me as someone who's very new to astrology. And it helped me grow. And I also felt it was a really safe place to ask questions. I'm like, I don't know if this is a stupid question, but I'm going to ask. And every time Prue was like, this is a great question. Let me answer it for
Yes.
you. And I just was always learning. And that was so important for me. And now the group that we all went together, we have our own study group for astrology where we meet every 2 weeks. And it's like,
This is so heartwarming, like peer support and learning from other people and direct experience and establishing contact. It's like if Asteria is our baby, I couldn't be prouder of the family, that is
yeah.
growing, basically. I love it. Love it.
And I loved how we had 3 different teachers. So on the days that you study with Kim, you get to learn about astrology through literature and words and speaking, and that's so important. And then with Carol, I felt like she's the scientist of astrology, and she would like, go so deep into someone's
She's a
astrology to the
scholar.
point I couldn't keep up, and it was so good. Oh, I'll study this for the next 3 days. And then Prue is someone who she's just like this open-hearted book of astrology,
Yeah.
and I can ask her any question. She'll show me exactly in a
Mhm.
chart where that answer is or where this
Yes.
is coming from. So it's just so wonderful to learn from 3 different ways rather than like, this is the only way. You guys let us expand into our own curiosity.
Ah, that's great to hear because yeah, as you do appreciate, we are very different, the three of us. And the conversations we've been having recently have been about we're not trying to create some homogenous single thing here. We are, under the or within the container of Asteria, we can offer these various things. And I think the core of it is just being real, you know?
Yeah.
And Carol is way more of a kind of natural, brilliant academic than either Prue or I. And we each have our own styles and our own strengths. And the thing that we share is that we love astrology and we love sharing it. So that's what motivates us. But yeah, Asteria is this quite sort of flexible container, but you're right, it is a safe place. And I love how it is almost entirely women based. I can't lie about that. It wasn't conceived as a woman only project, although I wouldn't mind that. But women, curious, brilliant, intelligent, open, soulful women just have found us, and I love it.
I love it too. I want to talk about the freelancing side of astrology if we can switch gears. Because you call yourself a freelancer, and I see you as someone who is a very well-educated astrologer. And for those of us who maybe we've been studying astrology for 5 years, 10 years, and we might be scared to create a profession out of it, do you have any tips for people? What does that even look like to reach out to people to read their astrology and make money from it, or even just
Mm.
try it for 6 months to see if it's a good fit for them?
I think Well, in my own experience, I was so fascinated by the potential of astrology and the endless kind of excitement of the symbolism and how acutely it spoke to my experience. It's not a theoretical thing for me, it's a kind of lived thing. So I was just insane. I was trying to read people's charts after 1 week, learning astrology for 1 week. Let me talk about your chart. And, and people did. And you learn from listening to people. As you said, on the forecasting course, so much of the value is from hearing about people's experience. People talk their charts. People teach you the astrology when you have a conversation with them. So I was blessed to not know how much I didn't know and to just be so eager that I didn't have time to be scared or think, what the hell are you doing? And I kind of learned on the job. I started way before I was ready and just kept going. And oh, in the beginning, that was all a gift, because I realized that I was getting something much more precious than money. So I was anybody that would let me talk to them about their chart was like gold for me. And then in after quite some time, I started to charge £5 for an astrology reading.
Yes.
£5, or maybe a bottle of wine instead, or something like that. And again, slowly in the beginning, starting to understand that this was valuable and it was okay to receive for it. But it took me a long time to really land in being a professional. I think there are loads of ways that you can share your astrology and be remunerated. And swaps and exchanges, I think, are a beautiful way of doing things. But also to understand that, your time and your energy and your attention are precious things that other people will value as long as you value them. Yeah. And to the question, I'm very good at just going off on a tangent. Sorry about that, Britta.
It's all
Yeah.
good.
I think to be led by one's enthusiasm and to be open and eager with other people, to allow them to share, to let you share your astrology. This will teach you so much, that you can't get any other way. And don't be don't be afraid to not know. That's a really important thing. It's a vast subject and it covers lots and lots of different styles and approaches and areas. And I've been doing it for 37 years, but the way that I do it is hugely different from a whole other series of professional astrologers out there who might be working this way or that way. It's a big field. So find the astrology that works for you, find what you're interested in, follow that and share that. And then it will, you know, build itself, really. I am the original spontaneous ad hoc. If it's supposed to happen, it'll happen. It's okay. Trust it kind of person. Yeah. Which is why I'm not sitting in a palace with my own outdoor swimming pool. Yeah.
I really just love that you shared this. And I love what you shared about you're doing it for the love of it versus the money of it. And so many of my clients recently have come to me because they're all about making the money. And I've had to sit down with them and remind them if you're just running a business to make money, there's going to be days where you're really going to hate running a business because of the systems of it all and the websites and the taxes and the harder adult things versus doing it for the love of it. And I'm always reminding people you have, whatever your business is, you have to love it first because you're going to have to love it on the hard days and the easy days. And then it will be the love of it to do the taxes and the systems and the websites. And do I do a Zoom reading? Do I do an in person reading? Do I charge this? Do I charge that? And I think it's, really just a loving reminder that no matter what we teach, we have to love it. Our heart has to be in it first before we can even make money from it.
You're so right. I've been constantly amazed by clients who come to me and you know that they're looking for something else, but somehow or other, through pressure, through expectation, through a sense of you've got to do this, they have turned themselves into barristers, even though they didn't want to do that, or they've turned themselves into dentists, even though they didn't want to do that. I have never had the kind of crazy discipline or shut down ability to make myself something I'm not, or make myself something that I don't love. And I am impressed by people who can have that kind of discipline. But at the same time, it's like, wow, think what you could do if you use that sort of discipline in something you do love. you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I I would love your opinion on this because I'm a very boundaried person in my business when I teach yoga. And sometimes when I talk to people about astrology, just in conversation, they kind of want you to predict their whole life.
Mm,
And as I'm starting to do readings, something I have on a waiver is I'm not a predictor. I can't tell you about divorce, birth, death, things like that. Can we talk a little bit about how we set boundaries as astrologers to, I guess,
yeah.
facilitate a safe space for our business and ourselves, but also for our clients?
Yes, and it's absolutely crucial to have a clear enough sense of what you are doing when you do astrology. We all call it astrology, but what are you doing? And to allow other people to understand that before it turns into something that it doesn't work for either party. And I had some lessons about that in the early stages about these days they call it managing expectations, but it's more about just being clear about what you do and don't do. Like you, I don't predict. And I am upfront and super clear about that. I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen in your life or what's not going to happen. That's not what I'm doing here. And it doesn't stop some people still banging away with the same, well, and it's like, no, I'm not going to tell you. I've even got a client that I've had for decades now, and she still asks me for predictions, and we laugh. And I say, not going to do that. And she's like, yes, I know, but and then we have a nice conversation about the real reason she's asking about what she's asking about or what that might be about. But yeah, I understand the human desire for some kind of certainty. Believe you me, Britta, there are days that I would like to just go, You do it, you work it out, you tell me, or you make the rules, you I don't want to be in charge. I understand that, but yeah, I don't really want to subscribe to some idea that another person can tell you what's going to happen to you. I think that is absolutely not true, and I wouldn't want it to be true, and I wouldn't want to be that person sitting there pretending or claiming to know what's going to happen for another person, because at the very least, you're taking away their agency.
Yeah.
Or you're colluding in some idea of something from the outside, making them powerless as if they're just sleepwalking towards something. And it's like, no, we all co-create our lives. That's how I see it anyway.
I
Yeah.
love how you shared about it taking away someone's agency. And I really agree with that because their birth chart is their story. Like I see it as like it's your purpose in life. It's in yoga, we call it dharma. And
Right.
if we are telling them how to live their purpose and their astrology, then it's taking away like what they might actually be passionate about or what they want to explore more.
Absolutely. I've thought just now of a line from Joseph Campbell where it's something like, if the path ahead of you is really clear, then you're probably on someone else's. you know, and, and how it's like, it's okay to not know. Back to that, to have that dialogue between trying to know yourself and what's right for you, and then also not having to have all the answers, to explore and to stay open and to change your mind or to realize things as you go, and then rework it. None of none of that was apparent to me when I was in my 20s, or even into my 30s. I think it's something you learn
Yeah.
as you go through life. When I can confess now that when I first started teaching, which was very soon after I'd started being an astrologer, maybe like a year or two. um, If a student asked me a question and I didn't know the answer, I would make up something that sounded plausible. It's terrible. 'Cause I once had somebody in class, when I said, "I don't know," they're like, "Well, if you don't know, who does?" kind of thing. And I thought, "You're right. I'm terrible. I'm a charlatan. I shouldn't be doing this." But
Mhm.
anyway, the days where I made stuff up are mercifully behind me. And I got a lot better at saying, "I don't know, but there are people who do," or pointing people in the direction. It's like, who has all the answers to everything? No one. And honesty about what we don't know, as well as what we don't do or how we don't work. I think that's an important thing, and letting people understand, and then the people that come to you will be the ones that want who you are and what you do, won't they? Does it work like that for you in your areas?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. I'm at a point in my business where women are just coming to me and it's interesting that I have no idea. I'm kind of just existing and trying to help as many women as I can run their businesses and more of them are coming to me because I just share my story open-heartedly. This is what I'm doing in my business today. This is what worked. This is what didn't work. And I try to be as human about it as possible versus I'm the perfect businesswoman or I'm a perfect yoga teacher. And it's just not true. And I think the more human we are, the more connection we create. And that ripples out into the universe. And that's what I'm here to create is just connection
Mm.
through business and through full body movement. And I think it's what you shared earlier. The more that
we live in our purpose. And the more that we like for astrology, like I started going to astrology school because it was the one Saturday every month where I didn't have to be in charge of something. And I'm like, this is so nice. And I think it's giving yourself an opportunity to explore what you love without putting an end game to it. So
Oh,
I just started exploring business because opportunities started just jumping into my lap. And the same with yoga. I would say yes to things I had no idea how to do, but I'd teach myself on the job. And that's my suggestion for anyone. If you want to study astrology, go study with people who've been doing this for decades without you thinking you have to become an astrologer. Just go see if you like it. Go see if it's something that you want to ask questions about. And for me, I just got to be in a room for 5 hours out of the day and not be in charge of a business. And I got to be a student again and just learn from people who were experts in something I had no idea about. And that was such a gift for me. And now I'm going to put this in my own business and just start talking about it. I'm not giving readings yet. It's probably going to be a year or two until I do that. But I started talking about astrology and how it's connecting me to my purpose. And that's what I want women to do. So if that's astrology for you, if that's business for you, if that's dance or movement, whatever that is, explore that more. And that's just how I do it. And people are connecting to it that way.
wonderful. And you have, I mean, I think you're a natural in that sort of instinctive attitude you have of exploration and discovery and questions and curiosity and wanting to dialogue, because astrology is a language. It's a language of humans, in our place in the cosmos. And it's mind-blowing that somehow or other the solar system can be a model that or a mirror that reflects something so subjective and so personal and so interior and private, as well as, wider circles of experience. It's like magic. It's a great mystery. It's beautiful. And from an experiential point of view, it is absolutely indisputable to
Yes.
me, the validity of it. But I can't prove astrology, and I have no interest in trying to make other people listen to me if they're not already curious about it. It's like I don't have an axe to grind. But it's like, wow, the solar system is vast, and yet in in the scheme of things, it's nothing. Our sun
Yeah.
is nothing. It's a no mark bullshit star at the edge of a spiral arm of one galaxy. There are numberless galaxies. This is insane, and yet here we are. We wouldn't be alive without our sun. And how the model of the solar system can function so acutely as a symbolic language for
Yeah.
us to archetypally understand processes of living. Yeah, it's just, yeah, it still leaves me kind of speechless. Not that I'm sounding very speechless now, but it's like, it is amazing. And I can't explain it, but I don't want to. It's like that's the mystery of it. It's extraordinary and beautiful. And anyone who has engaged with it at that kind of open-hearted level, I think would agree. What would you say?
I'm with you on this. I actually had a question to follow up with this because there's a lot of people who, so many people still don't know a lot about astrology, even though historically it's been around for years, centuries. And if someone wanted to just explore their astrology for a day, how would they do that? A lot of people know about the sun, the moon, the rising, but how do
Yeah.
you, if I'm brand new to astrology, or maybe I want to connect it to my business, or maybe I'm feeling a little lost on my journey, how can my astrology bring me home to myself?
That's a lovely um, phrase too, because it is like a way of coming back to who we are or reconnecting to who we are. Well, there are loads of different ways that you could do that. Obviously, having a one-to-one with an astrologer who works in that kind of expressive way is one route to open it up. But so is, I'm not a kind of experiential astrologer as such, but there are people who do kind of embodied. It's a bit like what's that thing? not human design, family constellations or something
Yes.
like that, where you do kind of gestalt work. There are people who work with astrology like that, and that's a very direct way of experiencing it. Prue's got some um, expertise there. And there's, there's the hermit, like, get yourself a great astrology book, sit at home, be fascinated, read, and then play with it. Then, use it as a springboard for something. Again, you're talking about poetry, poetry and astrology go together so beautifully for me. And the way that they can both express amazing things in such a kind of succinct way. But yeah, there are, of course, established astrology schools, and there are places that you can go to. There are stuff you can do online. There are, if you're in a city, you can usually join a group or a kind of meeting or something like that. Yeah, I think there are lots of different avenues, but to just get a taste, this is what Prue and I've been talking about recently. I think instead of only making available courses which speak to people who are already clear that they want to do this at some kind of more structured level, we're opening up things to people who are just a little intrigued, but they don't know. They certainly have no aspiration, as far as things stand, to become an astrologer or to work or practice with astrology, but they would like to find out a little bit more. So we're going to do these intro sessions. I'm starting on September the 1st.
Ooh.
She's following. We might alternate depending on how it goes, a little kind of taster where you can hear from people directly and it can be explored in quite a sympathetic way rather than a theoretical class where you're just sort of listening to some presentation. But yeah, we're talking about the three of us, Carol, Prue, and me, recording conversations between each other and making them available to people. We've got a tiny little YouTube channel these days. Prue's hauling us into the 21st century with everything she's got,
I'm with Prue on this. And it's just because I really resonate with how you teach. And you mentioned getting an astrology book, and I want to pull up this one because I read it every day, and it's by the lovely Kim Farley, who's on this podcast. So it's called Astro Mind Maps, and this is I'm a brand new astrology baby, and this is a perfect book for me. So I'm just gonna put it up here again, Astro Mind
Thanks,
Maps.
babes.
You're welcome, but
Oh,
it's really great because the way that it's written is if you're a visual learner, but also you're someone who loves learning through literature as well. So it's just two different ways to learn. And I'm someone who's very visual. So it's not just like reading a textbook. There's colors in it, there's creativity in it, and there's clouds in one part, but then there's definitions in
yeah.
another part. It's kind of for everyone. So this is my go-to book if I have a question about what does it mean to be in this house? And what does it mean to be a Taurus versus a Virgo? What are their qualities? And there's just so much to learn, as well as the different years that you're born. There's just a lot of brilliance in this book. So please go get that.
Thank you,
Um,
sweetheart. It grew out of not wanting to photocopy endless handouts in classrooms, going through that much paper and Frank Clifford, who these days helms and has for some time the LSA that Sue Tompkins founded. Yeah, he's also a publisher. So he had this idea back in, I think it was 2010. Was it? I can't believe it. Yes, I think it was 2010 to amalgamate all of our handouts into something that could be a booklet that, doesn't have to keep generating more and more photocopies every time. And it worked out brilliantly. And then the copy that you've got is the newer edition thing. After 15 years, he kind of updated it a bit. But I did the planet maps, which are part of the booklet, when I was studying, because I got up to here with books and theory and trying to learn or understand things. And I thought, why don't I just use something like a mind map? And I discovered Tony Buzan's idea of how we take in information and how our brains, um, respond to things. And he took himself apparently from being a mediocre student about whom his tutors said, you'll never amount to anything, to getting unconditional offers to universities and then being headhunted. And, he kind of lit himself up with this idea. And I found a library book and I thought, oh, well, I'll do some mind maps. And that's where it came. And it was just so nice to sit there with my pens and pencils and draw something or, color something. Yeah, that's
I think it's
how it
easy to
started.
read. Yeah, thank you. And thank you for creating this because like when you go on like an astrology app or a website, it kind of just gives you a chart. And a lot of people don't know how to read charts or they don't know what it means. And this one is it's every astrological sign on the chart and it tells you the characteristics of what that could be. So like you can look up your sun, moon, and rising. You could look up your MC and just see the characteristics of it. And it's easy to read. And it's also really fun. And if you're taking astrology classes with Asteria and they mention a house, you can just pop open this book and be like, what does this like being in this house mean? And it's constantly helping you grow on your journey of astrology.
Oh, thanks, Sally. Yeah, I was hoping it would be like just a little springboard or just a little resource that you could go to and kind of like, because there's nobody out there, whoever they are and however long they've been doing it, that understands all of astrology or has the answers. There are just people who are more versed in it than others. And we all need inspiration sometimes. We all blank out sometimes. I have conversations with Darby Costello, who these days has probably been doing astrology for something like, well, more than 60 years, that's for sure. And she and I still laugh about the fact that sometimes we're sitting down and we're like, I have no idea what's going on here. We're looking at a chart. And we're like, and so moments like that, which are real for everybody, it's nice to go to a resource and just get an inspiration that you can then, follow up. I think of it as like a springboard, just put a bit of bounce in and then you can dive in. Yeah. Yeah.
I love this. For people who and because you typically attract women to Asteria, if they just want to, rather than become an astrologer, but maybe they just want to explore astrology, could they come and study at Asteria? And what could that experience be for them? Maybe they've been doing it for a couple of days or a couple years. What could they get out of
Yes, yes, yes. The great thing is, I mean, we always put on one free workshop every term. We're just in discussion about the next series now. We did a series on the zodiac signs this
it?
term that's just ending, and they're available on the YouTube channel as well for people to look at. But beyond that, and the intro sessions that we're just about to float, we haven't quite put the framework into place yet. Um, there is a chart reading course that's happening in September, which is for people who have some footing already in working with planets or signs or houses, but want practice, want to be able to use it in a safe space with other people who are still finding their feet. And, that because it's a big jump from, oh, yeah, I know some astrology to working with another person, much less a stranger, not your friend or your neighbor or your girlfriend or whatever, but a person who's coming to you for some kind of insight. It's a big leap. And Asteria is kind of hand holding or path helping. That's not really very articulate. Yeah, stepping stones, and so maybe the intro course or maybe the chart reading course if people are a bit further along and want to, because confidence can't really be taught, but it can be explored through practice, and often the best natural astrologers as students that I've encountered over decades are the ones who are somehow the least confident about what they're doing. That whole thing about empty vessels make the most noise, and sometimes in classes, the people who aren't really saying much are the loudest or the noisiest, and the ones who actually have something are not the most vocal and certainly not the most confident. So Carol, Prue, and I really are very serious about wanting to encourage people and support people. I think that's really part of the reason that Asteria exists. And to accompany, we're not trying to deliver something or say you have to do it this way or whatever, but it's like, let's be shoulder to shoulder and we can, help you get where you want to go. And I think any good astrologer, consultant, or teacher has something of that spirit informing them, I would say, rather than I am the oracle and the power and you are just an underling, it's yeah, no. Yeah.
I
To
think
be human, you know?
Go ahead, sorry.
No, that's it. Be human. That's it. That's all of it.
I love what you shared at the end in, like, your superhero voice, about that because Um, as like someone who is like chronically online because I have an online business, I'm very selective about the astrologers that I follow. So I follow about three astrologers, Pam Gregory, you, and Chris Corsini. And I follow you guys because there's no fear mongering in it. Like I really and this is like in any type of it doesn't even have to be astrology, just any type of practice. Like I really don't love listening to or learning from astrologers who just kind of like make your astrology sound like you're doomed from the start. And like that
I
really impacts
agree.
people. Like, and this is such an issue right now. And it's also in like the
Yeah,
yoga industry as well. Like I'm very
yeah.
selective about who I practice with because
Totally.
it really does impact people. And I want people who are listening this to know you can be selective as to who you want to study under, as to who you listen to.
Yes.
And I always tell people, for example, we're in a Mercury retrograde right now, and everyone always acts like it's
Mm,
the world's worst thing that can happen. And look what Kim's wearing. Look what Kim and I like. We get to be on a podcast right now. And also, I've had so many magical experiences happen for me during Mercury retrograde. And
me
can you just
too.
talk a little bit about, I guess, fear mongering in astrology and what people
Yeah.
do when they experience it?
I'm super anti that. I've got more anecdotes than this podcast could possibly accommodate. But yeah, absolute no. But, one of the astrologers back in the 17th century, one of his tenets was, do not afflict the native with terror of a harsh judgment. In modern parlance, be kind, and we're, yeah, fear mongering. No, I had to do astro kind of triage with a client who she had been listening to a podcast, and in ways that I don't understand, the people running the podcast had decided that it would be great fun to look at the worst possible chart that could be experienced that year. What's the worst, the absolute most terrible astrology, which, I'm really not up for that anyway. And what does that mean? But unfortunately, when she was listening to it, and these two guys selected and laughed over how terrible this chart was. That was her solar return chart for that year. That just happened to be identical to her solar return chart. So she was heartbroken because she knew a bit of astrology and she knew that the solar return was something that, spoke to the year. And I got a red mist when she told me about this because it's like, what on earth are they doing? This is absolute nonsense. So then we had a session with her solar return and we, completely reframed the language. What is the good of putting something out that has that kind of negative intention? I mean, I don't really understand it. I don't. I love Rob Bresney. He's an astrologer who is he wrote a book called Pronoia rather than Paranoia. He's an amazing astrologer. And he doesn't have any truck with this is bad, this is afflicted, this is wrong, this is, yeah. And Mercury retrograde is fantastic for reconnecting, for remembering, for revising, for reworking, for anything, you know? Um, and it's a natural time of where we're sort of folding back into a more reflective period. It's traditionally not the it's not an energy that you want to take forward into something brand new, because it's always going to be more interior and more reflective, revising, reworking. But let's say you're a writer. This is the perfect time to do an edit or a revision, or it's a perfect time to reconnect with people, to go back to something that maybe you started before and pick it up in a different way, to have a rethink. Mercury retrograde times are necessary. You can't be charging forwards all the time. Life isn't like that. You have to be still sometimes, and you have to be quiet sometimes, and you have to turn in sometimes. Yeah. Mercury retrograde is great for that.
Thank you for sharing that, especially because we're in a retrograde and I feel like sometimes people tend to freak out in one end or the other. And I've always had really just magical experiences of meeting amazing people,
Mhm.
reconnecting with good friends who I hadn't seen in years, or just like reconnecting through a job opportunity. So there's a lot of just opportunity to even get clients who you might have met 5 or 10 years ago, and suddenly they become your client now. So there's just a lot of opportunity for that, exactly. Um,
I
I
agree.
I wanna, connect people to you, to study through you, and I wanna share one brilliant thing that you did is you gave me I do I still have it? Yes. I got this bookmark, and I just want to share the importance of a physical thing to give to people because I use stickers in my business. So if there's people wondering how can they advertise themselves, I got a bookmark through Kim, and it's literally how I found her Instagram in the course that I took this past year, and then I became her student and her client. So a really great way to advertise yourself is give people a bookmark, give people a sticker, give people something they can physically have and look up. And that's how we reconnected. And if people want to connect or reconnect with you, where can they find you online?
It's our modest little website, thanks to Carol, is asteriateaching.com.
Yes.
And that has information about the various things that we offer. And you know it's a little window into who we are and what we do. And again, there's going to be more information coming out for the autumn term. Things are gently coming to a pause now because of summer. I'm teaching my last um, class in the second term course, and we're talking about what we're going to do in the future. And we are, perfect Mercury retrograde time. We are rethinking and reimagining how we want things to be. So this is so lovely to talk with you like this, because I'm one of those people that sometimes finds out what she thinks by saying it, rather than having worked it out in advance. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so this is really helpful and lovely. Yeah.
Well, thank
But yeah,
you.
the little website and the uh, Instagram page, even Facebook, for the elderly like me. I know, I know the young people don't know Facebook. What's that? Even Threads. I'm on Threads, and some of it is pictures of my dog, and occasionally it's astrological thoughts. Yeah, but I'm on Threads as Asteria teaching. Yeah,
And
yeah.
what's it on Instagram if people want to search you there?
It is Asteria teaching as well on Instagram. Yeah. I have my own personal Instagram, which is Kim Pertinent, but the Asteria teaching is that's what we are.
And for
Yeah,
those of
and
you who don't know how to spell Asteria, it's Asteria, Asteria Teaching. And
that's
we'll
it.
have it in the show
Thank you,
notes.
goddess of the starry heavens. But I chose the name because it was my favorite nightclub to dance in under the sky in Greece. There was a nightclub on Naxos in the early 90s called Asteria, and it was open air, and it was just like heaven, and some of the best nights of my life dancing at Asteria. So For me, that's folded into the heart of it as well. But she is the goddess of the starry heavens. Yeah, yeah.
You just became 10 times cooler in my book. I just want you to know that. So, for people who want to connect with Kim, I just want to also talk about the flow of this. So, she gave me a physical bookmark. I found her on Instagram and she has a website. So, if you're thinking about how can I advertise myself, have something physical to give to people, or they can further connect with you online. So, she has her email, her website, her Instagram on here, and a little blurb about what she teaches. And I've kept this bookmark for at least a year now. So, just think
Wow.
about that. If you're thinking about like running any type of business, how can I inspire people to further connect with me? And for Kim, again, it's the bookmark, it's the website, and it's her Instagram, and it's Asteria Teaching. Kim, thank you so much for being here today. This has been such a beautiful and joyful conversation. And I'm so excited for people to connect with you further, to learn about astrology, to learn about themselves, and to also just learn different ways that they can study astrology. This has just been so beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, Britta, you're a marvel and a gem and you're golden. And thank you so much for having me and letting me play dress up too, unwittingly. You're
Yes.
fantastic. Thank you, though. Yeah.
You're so welcome.
If you are a women-run business and want to be featured as a commercial on the Yes podcast, then send an email to britta@brittamareda.com or check the show notes to get the details. Thank you for listening to the Your Entrepreneurship School podcast. If funding your life abroad sounds like something you want to do, then check out the show notes to find out ways we can work together. If you feel called to leave a review, then you can find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. I'll see you on our next episode where we will expand our business, bank accounts, and brilliance without settling for a life that tames us, all while saying yes to our wildest dreams.